Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today I'll be taking you through the AEC Collections Essentials, What's New in Revit Architecture 2024. So a little bit about VinZero. VinZero is the world's largest Autodesk partner, having recently been acquired by Arcant Systems. We provide software, hardware, and consulting solutions in the AEC market. We have an unparalleled depth of experience across the board to help you with your technology adoption. My name is Franz Hein. I'm the Digital Transformation Lead for Architecture and Construction across the ANZ region. I recently joined VinZero in September 2022. I've been working in the industry for around 30 plus years, working across large architectural practices on flagship projects all around the world. I've had a career progression as a CAD user, progressing to a CAD manager, BIM manager, and eventually design technology specialist. A long-time community consumer and contributor for many years, chairing Revit, the Revit user group of Victoria. Been on the committee for Melbourne since its inception, and a long-time attendee, speaker, and a repeat offender of conferences such as the Revit Technology Conference, Built, and Autodesk University. I'm all about connecting people with knowledge, process, and technology, and my goal is to make you more productive and profitable, with a wider goal to make your business and projects more sustainable. So the Revit 2024 release notes. So with each release comes a set of features. So Autodesk have released listed out the core features across Revit 2024, as well as discipline-specific features such as architecture, services and MEP, and the structure. We've got an upcoming event next week where we present further on what's new in Revit structure. So if you'd like to attend that one, you can RSVP via our website. But today I want to call out the key features that really apply to architects. I've grouped these improvements into user interface, modeling, graphics, productivity, coordination and collaboration, and analysis. So we'll walk through each of these features. And starting with the user interface. This year we've been presented with dark mode, which a lot of people are keen to use. With dark mode, you can toggle the user interface between light or dark, or potentially use the system settings. You can control the canvas independently. I call this one drawing board green. And to access the UI color state, you go to File Options, Colors. There you can specify colors for the background, selection, pre-selection, alert, calculations, and rebar editing. And of course, whether the UI is light or dark or relies on the Windows system settings. Your Windows system settings can be found by searching for the word color in your Windows taskbar to bring up the color settings dialog. The default app mode will dictate your light or dark settings for Revit. There's been a UI modernization to go along with the major overhaul. So they've changed all the iconography, and this is in support of the light and dark UI. And I think they've done an excellent job at tweaking the icons without making the new ones feel foreign. The project browser search and performance is a huge improvement. In previous releases, the search was hidden away in the right-click menu. You'd have to cycle through results in the browser tree, and the search results wouldn't be filtered. Looking at the new project browser, the search is persistent at the top of the browser. The search highlights and filtering is instant as soon as you start typing. Apparently, more dialog boxes have been adjusted now to be resizable. This isn't the case for all dialog boxes, so in this instance, it'd be handy to see the full file path. But I think they're making headway into expanding more of the user interface experience. Modelling improvements. There's a new series of templates. There's a new multidiscipline template that contains a starting view with updated fonts. So the new fonts they're using is Trebuchet and preloaded content for each category. In Revit 2024, there's a new series of sample files. So in Revit 23, we had the basic house on the hill and the advanced office building. These were standalone files without any Revit links. Revit 2024 presents a new series of sample files with covering all disciplines in separate Revit links, which is closer to a real world scenario. We'll walk you through the content of each of these. We've got the architectural model. This includes advanced concepts such as phasing and design options. Have the structural model, which is predominantly concrete. The mechanical, heating, cooling and ventilation model. A full electrical model. Plumbing and drainage. And there's even a historical facade that's been modelled referencing a point cloud survey. And finally, there's the site model illustrating new Toposolid features. So all these combine to present a real world example of how we typically work. There's a point cloud survey available for download via Autodesk Revit 2024 website. It's 5.7 gigabytes download, hence it's not part of your standard install. Once downloaded, the zip file expands to be about 8.5 gigabytes, the contents of which is a recap point cloud and a whole bunch of supporting files. Supporting files contain a number of registration points around the site. And when viewing this in recap, the registration points will be listed down the left-hand side. And the point locations are illustrated in the top right plan view, where the line of sight cone of vision is illustrated with a blue gradient. Opening up the architectural model, the cover sheet G000 contains information on model structure, the coordinate system, the geographic location of the project. There's a list of consultants and there's also a sheet list. Furthermore, there are instructions on how to use the project, providing insight on how the files and links go together. And on the second page, G001, there's a project synopsis describing where the project is and how it came about, a list of Revit features that have been showcased in the model, list of models and links, and a schedule of how do I, which is this schedule with blue question marks. The sample file is intended to double as a training tool to provide examples of various modelling techniques. So from the schedule, you can see if you want to look for a particular modelling technique, which view best illustrates that feature. So if we're looking at placing stairs and railings, we can go to the level 1 view to see more about stairs and railings. These blue question marks are also populated across the drawing set. So in the plan view here, these are generic annotation families. And when you click on the family in the object properties, you'll see a learning link URL in the element properties. And that will take you to the Revit 2024 documentation online, where you can learn more about the features. The site tools for Revit 2024, they've had a major overhaul. So a departure from Topo Surface. Toposolids now have volume. split surface and subregions been replaced with subdivide. And now we've got sort of more warnings to deal with or vet as Toposolids are volumetric, so it will report when it's interfering with other elements. So to create a Toposolid from a CAD link, which you do in traditionally, it's very similar to create a toposurface. You'd link in the CAD file, select create Toposolid from import, select your CAD import and specify the layers used to generate the points. So typically these would either be contour layers, or if you've got a tin, a triangulated regular network, you may be using that layer. When you click finish, the Toposolid will be generated using the current Toposolid type. You can swap types or duplicate type, similar to any other system family. Worth noting that Toposolids are room bounding, and you're not just limited to generating Toposolids via CAD links or imports. You can also generate these from a sketch or a CSV file of points if you've been provided with that data. If you're defining Toposolid types, you notice these are very similar to floor families. It's a composite layered structure which is editable. So to access that, you go to the type properties and edit the structure. Like floors, it has a core boundary, layers with thickness, function, and materiality, as well as specifying whether these layers are constant thickness or a variable. What I've seen people doing is having the surface layers as constant and the underlying earth as variable. There's no more pad tool, so this workflow has been replaced with the cut mask tool. To do this, you would sketch a mass using the in-place masking tools, sketching an outline and then clicking finish. As you'd finish the mass, that would basically sit in the hole, and you'd use cut Toposolid with mass to actually generate that hole or excavation in the ground. Now that Toposolids have volumes that and can be cut with other elements such as mass, this now opens up the opportunity to model subterranean structures, which would be handy for anyone working in rail at the moment. So split surface and subregions have been replaced with create subdivision. And what this does is it effectively places another single layered Toposolid of specified thickness and material over the host Toposolid. So it would have been nice if they allowed you to have a negative thickness, but all subdivisions need to have a positive thickness offset from the host Toposolid. You can toggle the contour visibility of these subdivisions. So if you don't want to see the contours, you can hide that. And one of the benefits of these, they're really easy to move or copy across the host Toposolid. They literally just suck to the surface and float across it. There's been a number of cut geometry enhancements. So they've extended the number of cuttable elements in Revit 24 to cut and to be cut. Things like slab edges, structural foundations, really helpful. And you can see via the image with cutting the Toposolid, you're getting the correct volumetric computation out of those cuts. So graphics, there's a variety of graphical improvements in Revit 2024. Starting with the line surface pattern. So in previous releases, if you were trying to align surface patterns on a floor that had been shape edited, you would have to use the paint bucket and paint the same material onto individual surfaces to control their orientation and alignment individually. You now no longer have to use that workaround. You can choose to either align the entire surface or selected faces at a particular time. Draw order improvements. So in the family editor in previous releases, it's been a bit hit and miss. If it looked right in the family editor, it didn't necessarily look or print correctly in the project environment. So the improvements they've made to this build means that it's more what you see is what you get. So you've got tools to sort of bring to the front, send to the back, or bring above, bring below. Height of schedule rows that are only for schedules placed on sheets. You can specify that as a numeric value. I'll keep going. So specifying the height of rows of sheets. You can specify this as a numeric value. This can either be to set the row height for all rows, can be just for individual image rows. Obviously, it's not going to squeeze down below the height of the typeface, but better if you're trying to sort of fill a particular size on sheet. Color books have been introduced in 2024. So in the color picker in Revit 2023, you had the Pantone button. That's now been replaced by a color books button. And color books were originally developed for AutoCAD, but they've now come across to Revit. So clicking on the color books button will bring up the color book picker, where you can slide through the pages on the right-hand slider, and then through each page, pick a color you're wanting to use. This is the one of the Pantone color books available. There are several color books that come with the out-of-the-box installation, and if you want to know where those are located, they're sitting under Program, Data, Autodesk, Revit 2024 color books. That's the default location that's stored in the INI file. I had to do some digging around for this, but to create your own color books, you can go to this website here. So it's worthwhile jotting down the web link for the color book generator. With the color book generator, you can add pages via the plus symbol, name the color book. Each page can have a maximum of up to 10 colors assigned to it. And you can preview those color books using the eyeball. When creating the colors, you're specifying the color ranges as RGB, hue and saturation, or CMYK, or hexadecimal values, giving each color a name. And when you preview those color books, you can either preview as an image or as a print-friendly version. And worthwhile previewing them before you export, just to make sure you've got all the information correct. And this is a look of an idea of what that color book would look like back in Revit. The top color of each page of the color book is the color thumbnail that appears in the slider. So this is a 4-page color book. Opening up the color books that come installed with Revit 2024, They're all encrypted, so they don't make a hell of a lot of sense. But if you use the Autodesk color book generator, these are not encrypted, and it's very easy to pick up the syntax or language there. So I'm sure these color books would be very easy to actually just put together in a text editor or code up through Dynamo. Texture's visual style has been added. So this sits between consistent colors in realistic, both in terms of appearance and where it sits in the view properties palette there. So a look at the visual styles that there are. There's obviously hidden line. We've got shaded with edges, which basically changes the color based on the orientation to the light source. We've got consistent colors that maintains the same color regardless of where the light source is. And the texture style now applies texture maps, but treats it more like consistent colors. So regardless of the orientation or exposure to the light source, those texture maps remain consistent. And you can see with realistic, the colors vary depending on the orientation, exposure to the light source. So could be a useful presentation tool. Where I could see these being of real value is in, say, overall elevations, where you're wanting to convey materiality a little bit better, but you're not wanting to sort of display all those dense hatch patterns that come with the other visual styles. Revit to Twinmotion. This was announced back in September 2023. Autodesk has partnered with Epic Games to essentially provide Twinmotion for Revit to anyone who is a subscriber to the Revit software. Worth noting, there's some minimum hardware requirements, and there's separate installers both for 2023 and 2024. So you need to install it twice if you're operating both flavors of Revit. You can find the download for that product via the Autodesk products page and just search for Twinmotion. Twinmotion allows you it's basically integrated into the Revit view tab, and you can either open the file in Twinmotion, which sort of detaches that from Revit, and you have a standalone copy of the model working in Twinmotion, or you can sync the model to Revit, meaning that whatever changes you're making to materials and model elements in Revit is actually pushing across to that real-time environment. So it's capable of producing, really lovely imagery. It's a real-time renderer. It's full of high-quality assets and entourage. So all these storytelling tools, such as people, trees, vehicles, all that sort of stuff. And you can export and share the file formats via sort of either fully navigable real-time 3D presentations or pre-rendered panoramas to share with your clients. So this is just a nice little show reel to show what Twinmotion is capable of. We'll dig into the productivity tools now. So opening sheets in Revit 2023, when you're in a view and you use the right-click menu, you could at best maybe find a referring view. But now in Revit 2024, if you right-click in a view, you'll find Open Sheet, which will basically take you directly to the sheet that the view is placed on. Move aligned and remove. So you can right-click on any sheet, any view, and move a line to either another sheet, or you can do it through the browser to move a line to another sheet or to remove from sheet. So both all time-saving features. You're now able to schedule revision clouds, which is a really neat way of being able to manage all your revision clouds in one place. These can be scheduled to include either the comments, the mark, or the revision for those revision clouds, and will report either the sheet that it's on or the view that the revision cloud is on. Sorting project parameters. So in previous releases, project parameters were typically sort by the order in which the project parameters are introduced to the file. So that would be by element ID. This has now been rectified to sort alphanumerically as you'd expect them to sort. Scope box height. This information was only available in previous releases upon creating the scope box, and it was available in the status bar. Once you created the scope box, that height parameter would disappear and you wouldn't see it again. This value now remains persistent through the properties palette, so you can drive the parametric height of the scope box through that value. It would be really nice to have a width and depth and a centroid location on those, but we can only hope. My Insights has been introduced now at the Revit home screen. So this offers feedback on your command usage and statistics and provides you with efficiency boosters such as keyboard shortcuts and commonly used command, intended as a learning resource. Insights also include short videos and snippets of feature recommendations. So these are all discrete topics presented based upon your user behavior and how Revit sees you using the tools and what you could better use. You can now place multiple views on a sheet, so highlighting and dragging and dropping multiple views. It will keep those separate so they don't overlap. Sometimes you may need to rearrange those, but it does a pretty good job of arranging things like views or schedules and being able to place all those in one go. Collaboration and coordination. So the cloud collaboration cache was hard-coded up until this release. You can now specify where that goes, and the beauty of that is if you have, say, a partition C drive and you want to move it across to a D drive, or even potentially move it over to a network resource, you can now choose where that collaboration cache lives, and it doesn't have to be under the user profile anymore. So your choice as to where you store the cloud collaboration cache files. Linking coordination models. You can link them from your desktop. If you're linking locally, the only file formats it allows you to link is NWC or NWD files. However, if you're linking from the cloud through Autodesk Docs, there's a whole range of file formats the Autodesk Docs file viewer supports. And I'm told it's around 60 file formats or so. And I think the other beauty of going through Docs is that the system is not dependent on the version of the source application. What this means is you could potentially link in older Revit files without having to upgrade them through just basically uploading the file to Docs and linking that way. Object properties of linked files. So if it's a Revit file and it's sitting up in Docs, those element properties are available via the properties palette. Obviously, they're grayed out; they're not editable, but at least you can see the properties of each element. Snapping to coordination models is a huge one. So you can access the snaps through the Manage tab, snap, and set it to snap to coordination models. And you can use this to either measure or align your or position your coordination models in the correct location. An analysis. So sun settings, this is just a small UI improvement, but in previous releases, when you were doing a solar study, you would actually have to go down to the visibility control bar to find the sun settings. Now that sits up on the ribbon while you're in that solar study, so you're not hopping around the interface. The minimum time interval's been reduced, so it's now down to 15 seconds. That can be crucial for some people who are wanting to make shadows as short as possible. You can dial down to those very fine increments. It also means that you can do much smoother solar studies if you're choosing more sort of frames within the solar study. The sun path moves across much more smoothly. And the sun path's now visible in perspective views. So I think you get this in orthographic previously, but not in perspective. And finally, energy analysis models. So on the analysis tab, energy optimization, you can generate a model. Basically recommend isolating just the stuff you need. So you can see in this view here, I've gotten rid of furniture, I've gotten rid of trees and entourage. Basically keep it to the enclosure in the building. And once you actually hit generate, the system's going to generate design options and potential performance outcomes within Insight. You can set ranges in Insight to define the envelope constructions, the types of mechanical systems, the hours of operation, and the renewables you're going to use within the development. And once you've hit generate, you'll receive a first email that'll tell you that the model's been pushed up to the cloud and is running analysis. The analysis doesn't take too long, and you'll get a follow-up email saying that the analysis is complete. You can then view the results in the Insight platform. So the Insight energy analysis model reports via a navigable building form that has a heat map applied to it, and it provides you with the lead score. There's a benchmark comparison to see how you're tracking there, model history, and just basically a snapshot of the current building orientation. Other things that will report on are the window to wall ratios, the shading design and how efficiently you're going there, and the glazing properties for each facade orientation you're dealing with. So it runs through sort of east, west, north and south for all those properties. And then it looks into sort of some more of the system side of the energy model, so the heat gain and heat loss through walls and roofs, potential air leaks through windows and doors, the lighting efficiency, daylight, so whether you have any sort of dimming devices or sensors that can control lighting through the light levels, and the predicted electrical loads. And finally, the sort of heating and cooling systems efficiency, the hours of occupation that you've inputted. photovoltaic panel efficiency, payback period for the solar panels, and the percentage of surface coverage you have for those solar panels. So that pretty much concludes the, I guess, the feature presentation. I'm well short of an hour here, but it leaves about 20 minutes for discussion or questions if you want. If you'd like to know more or subscribe to some of our future events, you can look us up on the web at anz.vinzero.com/events and look for the upcoming webinars. And with that, thank you for watching. And if you need more information, get in contact with us.